Hi everyone, my name is Rhonda Robson and I am an abstract artist specifically in fluid art. Today I am going to be talking about the 3 bloom elements, and there's a lot to it, so I'm hoping to go through this step at a time with you. I'm also going to talk about the 5 steps it takes to get the end results that you just saw right there. Okay, so we're going to be doing these recipes that I have on this screen, but I will go through them specifically each one at a time, so don't worry about it. All right, the first element is your pillow paint. I use Sherwin-Williams Semi-Gloss Showcase Ultra White. I want to make sure that it is nice and thick, so I'm just putting it in a container here because I want it to get even thicker, so I leave it open. Element number 2 is mixing of the colors. And so I use either a medium or a full body acrylic paint, but you can use pigments if you want to. There's just a little bit more that you need to do with those. I use, to thin this down, Minwax polyacrylic clear gloss, and I use 1 part paint to 1 part Minwax. And in this one in particular, I'm using 0.3 ounces to 0.3 ounces. And you mix that up really good. You're going to notice that it's thick, so we're going to add some more stuff to it here in just a second. The second part of the paint mix includes 3 parts of Sherwin-Williams Semi-Gloss Base C. So this is my recipe. There's other bases out there that you can use, but this one just happens to be Sherwin-Williams, to 1 part Minwax polyacrylic gloss. And this was the product we just used thinning down the paint. Okay, so now you've got that mix in another container. That's what this is right here. And then I'm mixing it with 0.4 ounces of this mix to the 0.6 ounces of the paint and the poly that I just had. So you've got to make sure you mix really well, and just continue to mix it to get this nice consistency. But as you see right now, because I used a thicker paint, it's actually too thick. It's not sliding off my stick where I want it. So for thicker or full body paint, you might need a little bit more Minwax, that polyacrylic, to thin it out a bit if you need it. Sometimes you don't need it. Depends on how thick the paint is. All right, mix that really well and see how it comes off my stick now. Nice. It's making mounds on the top. It looks really good. All right, so I'm going to show you that one more time so that you can go through this again. So when you're using a scale, you're going to want to make sure you put your whatever you're putting your paint in on the scale and zero out the scale if you're doing this. So again, we're putting in the paint, and then we'll put in the polyacrylic again. And that's that Minwax polyacrylic to thin the paint down just a bit. So again, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. 0.3 ounces is what I'm using to 0.3 ounces of the polyacrylic. Okay. So once you have that, again, you're going to mix that very well again. You want to thin that out. You want to make sure there's no lumps. This really helps with the process of adding in the next step. So this next step, remember the mix that I've already got mixed off to the side is 3 parts Sherwin-Williams Semi-Gloss to 1 part polyacrylic. Then I add that mix to my paint, which is a 0.4 ounces of that mix to the 0.6 ounces of my polyacrylic and paint. And I hope that makes sense. If not, pause this and look at the recipe. All right, so mix that up really well. And again, this one's thicker, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of the polyacrylic just to thin it out a bit. I don't use water in this recipe. I have used water in other recipes, but in this one in particular, I didn't, okay? And I really like the results in this. So for me, in this particular recipe, don't thin it out with water. All right, so the third element is mixing the Cell Activator. So again, put your cup down, zero it out. Make sure that once your cup is on there, you zero out your scale, okay? That's what I'm saying, zero it out. So the first step is to use American Floetrol. We're doing 3 parts of this. So 3 parts American Floetrol. It doesn't matter how much you use, but just make sure it's 3 parts. So a lot of times I will do 3 ounces or 6 ounces just numbers of 3, right? So I am getting that in there. Now we're going to add Amsterdam paint, and we use 1 part of the Amsterdam paint. So I use, in this one in particular, I use black. Okay, and I've also got the white recipe. It's already done, but I'm going to show you that here in just a second. But you can use other Amsterdam paints. But the Amsterdam and the Floetrol react really well together to get your cells. So here I am stirring it up. And of course, you know, you can also use the Floetrol from Australia, the Aussie Floetrol, but this recipe is to get away from that. All right, so now we're going to add 1 part glue-all. So this is Elmer's glue-all. You can also, I've heard people use glue, but I use glue-all because it's clear when it dries. So glue has a tendency to have sometimes a yellow tint to it. And so in this one, I just want to make sure that I'm not yellow tinting anything. So either use white glue or glue-all. So this recipe happens to be glue-all. And it's kind of hard to see how it's making a mound on the top. Your cell activator will be slightly thinner than your paint that you just mixed. And then your paint is slightly thinner than your pillow paint. All right, so the next step is to add in this wood conditioner. So it is 3 parts of American Floetrol to 1 part Amsterdam paint to 1 part Elmer's glue-all to 3 to 6 drops of this wood conditioner. For me on this one, it was just about 6, maybe 8 drops of the wood conditioner. So anywhere from 3 to 6 or maybe slightly more. And then it stinks. So be cautious of that. So if you're sensitive to smell, make sure you put your lid back on and then get that out of the way. It doesn't smell as bad once it's in the mix, but it does when it's open. So mix that really well in your cell activator. And then here you can kind of see that the mound that it makes, but again, it's a thinner consistency than your mix for your colors. All right, so here's the white one. See how it runs off the stick compared to the color one? So that's the difference in the thickness. All right, well, let's get going, and we're gonna do the 5 steps now. All right, so the first step is to pour a thick pillow. Then you're going to drizzle the paint, small puddle for a cell activator. You're going to either blow it or you're going to swipe the cell activator across the colors. And then at the end, you're going to either stretch or you're going to spin it. So right now I put my pillow paint on and I'm doing the drizzling of the colors. So I'm going to show you 3 different blooms here so that you can see it. You can kind of see that this paint right here is a little thicker, and I noticed that later on, so I kind of thinned it down a little bit more with the polyacrylic, but it was slightly thicker than that red color, so I did notice that. So if you happen to see that too. All right, so here comes, I'm doing red, blue, and then gold. And the gold happened to be slightly thicker too as well. There's a few of them that I noticed as I was doing these testers on these tiles that they were slightly thicker. Okay, so the next thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna put your cell activator wherever you want it, whether it's on a palette knife or whether you put it in a puddle on the actual piece here. I'm just going to put a little bit more blue, dark blue in here just to give it a little bit more contrast. So we've got 4 colors, and now I'm going to do my cell activator. So you put it in a puddle, and then it doesn't have to be that much cell activator on there. It could be just a little bit. And then you blow down and out, down and out. And so this right here, you can kind of see, I'm sorry, my head's in the way a little bit, but the cells that are already activating just by blowing the different elements together, and it is having a chemical reaction. So that's how you get those cells, and that's why having specific recipes for that is extremely important. So if you don't want to have silicone, the bloom technique is amazing for that. All right, so I'm allowing the cells to develop, and for this in particular video, I did not show you the entire process. I let the cells develop for a minute to 2 minutes. You kind of like blow the paint out and allow it to come back into the center, and then you spin it. All right, so we're spinning it now to stretch the paint out. And if you don't have a spinner, you just have to stretch it by going corner to corner. No problem whatsoever. You can do that. I've discovered that I really like the look of spinning it. All right, so we're going to do another one. So again, the 5 steps are: you're going to pour on your pillow paint. You're going to drizzle your paint colors. Then you're going to create a small puddle of Cell Activator. Then you're going to either blow it or swipe it. Now you can put the puddle of Cell Activator on your putty knife. I'm not doing that right now, but you can do that. And then you put that across the paint, whether you blow it or you swipe it, and then you spin it and stretch it out to the desired design, whatever works and looks best for you. I really like this color palette. You're going to see it. It's going to be really pretty. So it kind of reminds me of the rainbow. I love doing things in rainbows. So if you see me, I usually will start with like the purples and the blues, and then I head into the yellows or the golds or the reds or the pinks. And it just kind of makes that really pretty rainbow kind of effect. Okay, so this one you're seeing the entire process as the cells develop. I have it at a higher speed so that you can see that. And then now I'm just kind of taking a skewer and making some designs for you. And then let's just spin it out. And sometimes I notice that I overspin things, so be careful not to overspin it and to overstretch it. All right, so let's do a third one for you. So I get the pillow paint on there again. You're going to drizzle your paints. You're going to create a small puddle with the Cell Activator. You're going to blow it or swipe it, and then you're going to spin it. So those are your 5 steps. Okay, so I'm doing kind of that rainbow effect again where I've got the purple and the blue. And then I add in a lighter blue. I got some green in there. And I'm going to add in then pink. I didn't put in the yellow. And see how that pink is blobbing? It's too thick. I'm just letting you know that right now. I discovered that after I did this. And I really like this color. It is this top one. It's a gold interface, and it just makes some really cool effects. Okay, so we're going to put the black Cell Activator on this one, and I'm going to blow it out. This one doesn't happen to be one of my favorites that I did. It was one of the ones that I kind of blew and didn't really pay attention how I was blowing. And as you remember, my cells or my paint was a little bit thicker, so it's just not as consistent as the other ones were initially. So yeah, and then you just spin it out and you have these really cool effects. Well, thanks for joining me, and I really appreciate this. Let me know down below what you'd like to see more of. You're going to see over the next few weeks a number of blooms that I'm going to be showing you that I've done with testers with different colors. And I think you're going to really enjoy those. Thanks for joining me today, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. And if you like this video, I bet you're going to like these as well. Thanks a lot, and have a great day. Bye! Bye!